Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream. I'm your host, Kurt Wilker Jr. We are rocking live from South Florida. It is a pure South Florida produced show today, as we got Alex Vidal on the hot board, working the switchboard, or whatever the hell we call it. I don't know what you call that professionally anymore. I think when I was doing radio 20 years ago, it was a switchboard or the soundboard. Anyhow, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So we are going to have Robert Rice on as our guest today. He's sort of Robert on the run this week, as he's giving me away from the green room. He's coming from another important meeting. He's a man with lots to do, so he's going to be doing the mobile thing from the car, which, as I'm told, is like the cool way that all the cool kids do it anyways. So I think it's going to work remarkably well. We'll be talking about all the stuff that's going on with Omniscape, and Robert's one of those guys that's got a lot of pokers in the fire, and they just keep getting hotter and hotter, and then the embers come out, and the flames are economic success. We're going to talk about all those things. So but before we do that, I want to remind everybody to like, subscribe, hit the alert bell so you know every time that we go live here on the air. It helps the algorithmic gods. It lets all the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musks and the Jack Dorseys and all those people know that you love me, you love my content, you love white bald men generally, and therefore you want to subscribe forever, and you want to enjoy content about Bitcoin and related technologies. So also, it's Tuesday, which means not only do I do a live stream, but I also publish my once a week article. So you can check my pinned post on X or anywhere else you follow me on social media, and you can read my article, which this week is a review of the Hijacking Bitcoin book by one Roger K. Ver and his co-writer Steve Patterson, both gentlemen who I have had the pleasure to have something of a relationship. Actually, I don't think I've met either one of them in person, but I have talked to both of them numerous times on video calls and other stuff. But it was a difficult book because on the one hand, it was amazing. Like 90% of it is stuff that I'm like, thank God somebody else said this and said it well. But then the other side of that for me was a little bit like, but why though? About like, Bitcoin Cash being the solution to everybody's problems, or more generically, like, yeah, man, cryptocurrency is the thing that's going to change the world. And like, it just feels like a softening of the message for me from Mr. Ver. But overall, for anybody, especially beginners, so if you have a beginner in your life who's like, yeah, man, I'm just got into Bitcoin over the last year or so, I think it's going to be going up a lot, and it's awesome. And remind them that, like, hey, man, like, Bitcoin is 15-year-old technology and it's been through a whole lot of nonsense, and so it might be wise to catch up on the history a little bit. And for that, it's great. It frankly is best in class. I read The Block Size War by Jonathan Bears. Not great. Frankly, was kind of a straw man book. Like it gave a straw man to all the big blockers, and really just lionized the small blockers in a way that I found nauseating. Now, of course, this is like I don't even know. I'm like the other side of the. It's like asking somebody from Alabama, like what was the Civil War about, and like you're gonna get a very different answer than if you ask somebody who's from Minneapolis or Chicago or New York, right? So for me, politically, reading The Block Size War felt very like, ugh, like this is not how it happened. The other thing that really bugged me about Jonathan is that he claims to have been a big blocker, that he started off on our team, right? And that the brilliance of the small blocker argument was the thing that brought him to the other side, but he had all these relationships with big blockers, and I don't know the guy. Never heard of him until he published this stinking book. So it strikes me as a little bit like, man, how close could you have been to anybody if I never heard your name? Like, I'm not saying you got to be my friend to have been a big blocker, but I never heard your name until like 2022. And so it just kind of strikes me as a little bit of a, hey man, I was one of you guys. And it's like, well, you didn't go to the meetups. You weren't part of the groups. You weren't part of the chats. You didn't have a channel. Like, where'd you come from? So it strikes me as a little bit of a, it's just not real. But Hijacking Bitcoin, Roger's book, was the exact opposite. Everybody knows who Roger Ver is. And if you don't, like, you are uneducated about anything about the history of Bitcoin, frankly. But yeah, Mort here commenting. The first 90% of the book was spot on. It really was. Like, it very eloquently and accurately described Satoshi's vision for Bitcoin, the original concept, like what made Bitcoin special, what made the culture special in the early days, and then ultimately by what mechanism was the entire well poisoned by, in some cases, like spooks from the NSA. So, and Roger does a very good job of kind of wading into those waters that are like borderline conspiratorial, but giving very good evidence as to why this is the most likely response. Like, follow the money, follow the people, follow the behavior, and what other conclusion can you come to? So, Roger, if you're watching, and you're probably not, but kudos to you. The book is quite good. I disagree with your sort of summary at the end, but the book itself was pretty liberating to read. It was like reading my own history back again. So thank you, and I do have to recommend it if you haven't read it. Like, it's a good book, even if you don't like Roger. It's just the truth, or at least 90% of it is. So now we're gonna cut. In a few moments here, we've got a couple things coming up. We've got London Blockchain Conference coming up in like 3 weeks. So if you like London, or you like blockchain, or you like conferences, or, even vaguely like any of those things conceptually, you should come out. It's a really good time. It is an open blockchain conference. It is not a BSV conference, as much as all your friends, frenemies, and enemies want you to think that it's a BSV only thing. It really is not. Come out, come play. It'd be good to hang out with lots and lots of you. And then I'll be presenting both, but also as one of the people who works for the apes here at Gorilla Pool. We'll be talking about mining and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's going to be a really good time. Also, we're going to play the ad about London Blockchain. And then we are going to come back with Robert, who appears to be commuting a little bit, maybe perhaps to get to better signal or something. We're gonna get this figured out. I can feel it. So Mr. Vidal, if you could cue up the ad here, we'll come back, and if Robert's ready, we're gonna make this work. So let's do it. Hello, sir. Nope, you're muted.
It's one of those days. How's it going?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Is the audio all right?
You sound good. You look good. As long as we have no blips in the 5G, I think we're gonna make it.
Yeah. So I was in panic mode. I'm in a parking deck in downtown Raleigh. I just finished a meeting with some city council types, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was clear. Then it was not clear, then clear, then not clear. I'm like, I have to get out of here. So
yeah,
all is good.
Relatable. So 3 weeks ago, I was doing this show, and there were tree cutters outside my house. Now I've got the most expensive possible internet in the universe because of this show and my other media obligations. They cut a tree down. The tree landed and cut my cable line in the middle of the live stream. So
I would have murdered somebody.
Out, gone. So I was like, well, I guess we're done. But yeah, so no worries. Technical difficulties befall us all. But you're looking good. I haven't seen you in, it feels like
it's been
2 years.
It's been a couple
something.
of years.
Yeah,
at least. Were you London last year, maybe? Or
I was in London last year, but I don't remember really seeing you or hanging out, which is weird to me.
But it was nonstop meetings.
Yeah, no, for sure. Same. So that makes sense. So cool. So how have you been? Like, I see you're busy. Like, the Boximon stuff popped out. I'm seeing more Omniscape stuff. So I mean, you're obviously busy, but fill us in on the last maybe year of what you've been up to.
Yeah, so we have a pretty small team here, which and they're amazing people, but we're still small. So, for us, it's really been kind of like a tortoise wins the race sort of deal, or kind of a slow burn, right? And for years now, we've been slowly building and building and building and building. And now we're kind of at a point where we've done so much of the heavy lifting and some really, really hard technical things that like nobody else can do or hasn't even thought of. But now we're able to start teasing some things out, rolling some product out, and like turning things on. And the Boximon are probably the goofiest but more fun part. And they're little 3D fun pets that do some fun things, and we're going to be doing a lot more with them over the next couple months. But for us, that's really like kind of a teaser or a way to kind of get people used to the idea of metaverse or some blockchain stuff. It's just very accessible, kind of a Pokemon Go sort of thing. And then as they're onboarded into the overall system, then we can start rolling out these other things, like the metaverse apartments, the AR VR crossover, the ability for anybody anywhere to basically upload 3D content and then geolocate it. We've got we call it a drop tool, where we can just drag and drop an item, hit publish, and then bang, there it is in AR for somebody to pick up and collect, which is crazy. And we're going to be doing some really nifty things with some other NFT projects and game projects and brands where, again, this idea of virtual goods, 3D objects or NFTs that have some real world value and utility, just like with the pizza and taco thing we did years ago with you in Miami blockchain conference. It's like we've had this tech, it just hasn't been quite ready for release. But now this is the year where we're really going to start turning a lot of this on. And I think already we're making a few waves, and a few people in other other sectors are a little upset about that because we're ahead of the mob, as it were. But
well, and that's kind of an interesting. I was gonna say I've seen three things over the last 5 years. We saw a huge blockchain pump, and then we saw the kind of the metaverse pump that was a little bit after it. And then now the last year and a half, we've been in this AI pump.
Yeah.
Now we always get the pump and then it dumps, but then the slow climb. Now that slow climb has finally got back to that pump zone on crypto stuff. And then I think the same thing with the metaverse, like the metaverse stuff, like your bubble burst a little bit, came back down, and then creeping back. Like here's the real people are, crawling back out of the hole. And now I think we're primed for over the next 6 months. All of a sudden, the actual mature metaverse stuff, like with the Apple glasses, for example, is like, finally, that's probably the right way to do that after, years of kind of doing it goofy and whatever. But I think you're kind of on that cusp. So congratulations on timing, because I think you're in a good spot. And B, well, go ahead. What is that maturity? What does it look like on your end? And am I crazy or am I thinking about this right?
No, you're right on the mark. It's very much like Gartner's hype cycle, right? All these things that had a huge hype cycle, all the get rich quick people and the scammers jump in, and it's like even when blockchain and crypto was first out, people were like, oh, we're a tea company, now let's rebrand ourselves as blockchain tea, so our stock goes up, right? There was no blockchain there. And now that things are, have these hype cycles, they're kind of tailing off. That also gets rid of a lot of the chaff or just the useless stuff. And then, guys like us that we're build, IP, technology, real business model, monetization, all that stuff. We survive these huge up and downs and, excitement and just overhype. And then, now, like you said, we're kind of like on this upswing and we're really well positioned for it. But what's really interesting is, people, you have to think about metaverse stuff differently, because it's not just VR, it's not just AR, but we're like the only industry that can encompass every other industry, right? Like, bring us your AI, bring us your blockchain, bring us your machine learning, your computer vision, your IoT, your whatever. It all fits underneath like our umbrella, which kind of makes us unique. But oh man, I had a really good point. Where was I going with this?
The hype
anyway, so now that AI is kind of right. Where are we? So now that AI is kind of percolating down, still hot, but now it's like metaverse is kind of becoming back. And for as much as it's like I have this conversation with people, on a fairly regular basis. There are like billions upon billions have been spent on AR and VR, whether it's from the Oculus Rift or the Google Glass or Apple's Glass or Meta's Horizons or whatever. And if you go up to a regular guy in the street and say, hey, name 3 mass market, AR applications are named, three really amazing VR, 3D world things. But you can't say Pokemon Go and you can't say, Beat Saber. They just look at you with this blank stare, and I'm like, okay, why is that? There's so much novelty stuff out there, or so many people chasing the same ideas and not really trying to understand how to, maximize the potential of the technology. But again, when you have these huge hype things where people just throw money at, whatever, with no real substance to it, it goes away, time goes by, and then, the people that are actually building stuff that are trying to keep their head out of the craziness, we almost always, survive. And then now, it's our time to hit that hockey stick. So I think for sure, as we start rolling out stuff, and I know a few other companies are doing some interesting things. I think this summer leading into the fall, you're going to see a resurgence in some metaverse things, but a lot of them are going to have additional aspects that again tie into these other bits, whether it's IoT or again, blockchain is still necessary for a lot of things for metaverse, and then certainly some AI applications, whether it's for simulations things, or the easy one is basically AI operated avatars, really change the level of immersion for virtual worlds, which is great for games. But then you have to think about too, well, what are the applications for other industries? That's where the real money is, and that's where the long-term value is going to come into play.
So who are those players? Because I mean, you mentioned Google and Facebook or Meta, whatever they're called, and Apple, which are household brands for all kinds of other reasons that aren't metaverse application stuff. But is there like another couple of really plucky startups that you think are just a lot better, or where do you think the industry is going? Because you're right, other than Pokemon Go, which is what, 7 or 8 years ago now, like what is the name brand that's out there and killing it?
There's really not. I mean, sure, you could maybe point to Snapchat with their AR face filters, but that was fun for a minute. But what's the utility there? Or Niantic. Niantic is obviously they did Pokemon Go. They're a great technology company, but they've been spending a lot of time and effort building out their own, I guess, competitive platform to Google's AR Core and Apple's AR Kit for developers. There's still plenty of limitations though, and they have their own internal issues. But yeah, outside of that, it's just like it's hard naming objects. It's really hard trying to name other companies and startups. I think it's really things are happening with small teams behind the scenes, and all the big boys are getting all the attention right now, but there's not a lot going on. I mean, just look at Meta, right? How many more billions do they announce losses in the last quarter? And it's like, well, what the hell are you guys spending the money on, right? Oh, you finally gave your avatars legs. That's super exciting. Yeah, big wow, good, you do you guys. It's like, what's the thing? So yeah, no, I don't know. I think the whole landscape is going to change. But right now, even if you look at, like a lot of these research firms print out these, landscape of industry, and they've got, these are the core providers, the feature providers, the application providers, infrastructure, or whatever. At least in AR and VR and metaverse in general, it's been the same 100, 200 companies for the last 5 or 10 years. Yeah. And it's usually hardware or some other, like you said, like NVIDIA's on there. Okay, well, cool, or Apple. But it's not what they do as a company. It's not their goal and focus. So yeah, I don't know. I think you really have to go digging to find companies like us that haven't quite gotten all the attention yet. But it's going to be like this black swan disruptive event. And
I agree.
The world is changing.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's so cool. It's novel. I used to play like headset video games 5-6 years ago too, that were great. I mean, the Oculus stuff, or, and I'm actually doing the bow and arrow, and I'm doing like that. That's fun. It's a lot of fun, but I don't know if I'm just not the right consumer, or if it's not the right product, because as much as I will have fun on one weekend at a party, I'm not going out and buying one. So I'm still kind of looking for that. And same with the Apple thing. Like I've seen a couple people in public and I've watched a couple reviews. Like it looks awesome. I'm sitting there saying like, should I spend $3,000 and do this? And at the end of the day, I'm like, honestly, it's going to sit on my damn desk. I'm never going to play with it. And here's the thing that got me. When I looked at people doing work on an airplane, which is something I hate. I'm big. I don't fit well on a plane, so I can't really fit a laptop and be productive. and like watching movies sucked, but it's like if I could pop that on and like strap my head to the back of the seat and just like relax, like that sounds pretty cool. But that's not $3,500 cool. So I'm still like,
yeah, and it's all good till you start waving your hands around, smacking other people, right?
Yeah. right. Get myself thrown off a plane because I grabbed a stewardess inappropriately. I was like, no, I was trying to move my widgets around.
Yeah. There's a tune in Tokyo joke there for older crowds, but I'll let that slide.
There you go. Right. Like, no, no, let me show you. It's an analog radio that I'm listening to. Yeah.
Yeah. Tune in tech. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I do.
Man, I'm a terrible person.
I'm a little younger than you, but I'm also old. So, Robert, actually, Alex Vidal has a couple of videos. Like your company has published a couple things over the last, I think, week or so. He's got a Boximon video, and he's got like a general Omniscape. Would it be okay with you if we played the Omniscape fun reel, essentially, for lack of a better term? I think it'd be fun for people to see.
Absolutely. Just with the disclaimers that I'm the guy that has to cut these. So if you don't like the video, it's my fault. And we usually have a particular target or particular message for the videos. We have a lot more that aren't necessarily publicly viewable, but go for it.
Cool. Yeah. Let's bang it out, Mr. Vidal. I'll tell you what, that's not a bad reel at all, Robert.
Thank you.
So it's funny. Yeah. I love that Alien so much. I that is the one thing I played with the most, is taking selfies with my arm around the alien at places where it's like super inappropriate. Like I'm at somewhere fancy in Zurich, Switzerland, and so it's a lot of fun.
I actually forgot I had the French maid in that video, so I'm a little hot under the collar. Yeah. So one of the, again, this is what I just love about the tech that we've got. It's cool that you can do AR stuff, but when you start adding in location, it gets real fun. And so part of the thrust of that video was obviously linking 3D objects to real world stuff, right? Which is huge for brands and commerce and engagement. But the other half of that is just the ability to, again, just put content somewhere. And so while we use that tool ourselves when we want to do a campaign, or we've done some stuff for CoinGeek and over before, we're going to be opening that up to the public later in a couple of months. So you just go in, you register, you upload your 3D thing, or grab one to the marketplace. You can put it anywhere in the world that you want. We'll probably charge a little tiny fee for that, and then it's out in the public. So you can be as inappropriate as you like. I imagine we're going to start some brand wars, or we're going to start some serious, college basketball rivalries. The minute somebody figures out they can drop, I don't know, a 3D Duke mascot over at, NC State's campus, it's going to get nuts. And not to mention all the political troll like that, I'm sure is going to happen.
My gosh. Okay. Could you imagine just dropping AR Donald Trump at the Democratic National Convention? I mean,
I know people would lose their minds, but
yes.
I think we're gonna have like a golden 3D poop emoji that we're just gonna make super expensive if you just want to drop that somewhere.
Nice.
But this is the power of enabling people to create content, place it somewhere, and we're also going to be building in another system for campaigns and quests. So, I want you to be able to create your own experience at multiple locations, and then, have your friends, whatever, kind of access that. So we really want to pay attention to facilitating creators, facilitating brands, and helping everybody kind of monetize the tech and the platform. And these are the kind of things that, I'm not seeing anywhere else in the industry. It's all about, here's our goofy, novelty one-off experience people get bored with, but nobody's really like the YouTube of AR, or, the Instagram of VR, or, whatever. It's just, let me create. And then too, if we connect these things together and connect other, platforms or technologies and whatever, I think that's where, and again, we want to be kings of the world.
And actually, you and I have connected at industry shows. So I remember we were at what was I always forget the name of this damn show. It's like the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas.
CES, yeah.
CES, yeah. And like, these kind of things, I think consumer trade shows are some of my favorite things because they're such a weird microcosm. But this is how I am such a not typical retail consumer of stuff. I'm the kind of guy who's like, I want a new pair of shoes. Like I'm gonna consume 150 hours of content about the best shoe, like what's the best sole and where is it manufactured and why, and like all these other things. Now I realize that most people are like, dude, I just want the Nikes that Kanye's wearing or whatever. But for me, I want to have an interactive experience with the thing that I intend to buy before I actually buy it. And so this sort of consumer good, experiential thing. One was 2 weeks ago. The Watches and Wonders show happens in Geneva, Switzerland every year. And that's where all the big brands debut here's our new 3 watches this year. And, you'll never be able to afford most of them. But in an AR, VR kind of environment, imagine being able to like check this stuff out. Cause I'm not going to fly to Geneva, Switzerland to go look at a bunch of watches I can't afford, but I might pay $100 to go on the virtual tour and be able to, look at my own wrist and be like, oh, okay, let's try the Patek Philippe or the new Tudor or the new Omega or whatever else. And like, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to say like, oh, you know what? I really liked the way that looked on the ad, but it doesn't fit my wrist dimensions at all. Like I can just write that off mentally now and obsess about something else for the next 6 months. But I think that there's something there about, the kind of people, and it's small, but it's still probably tens of thousands of people that want to consume items like that, who go to these sorts of shows, where I think there's something experiential there about that sort of market, for the kind of people that would go to a show. And it's all kinds of stuff. Like you can literally go to like the Pool Manufacturers Association and look at like, here's all the new technology around hot tubs. And it's the same kind of thing. Like here's the 10,000 people on the planet that are really weird about this thing, but they've got money. They've got a lot of interest. They're already super passionate. And so they might take the dive into, let's do this other experiential thing. So basically I'm talking, like free talking out of my wobbly brain right now, but I'm wondering, do you think there's an application there that maybe has been unpruned or unharvested so far?
I think so. So, there's this idea of virtual try-on that's kind of been around for a while, see what the watch looks like on your arm. And that's great for, people that can't travel. I can't go to the other place. Let me see what it looks like in my arm, which is kind of cool. It's great for clothes or for shoes. But when you kind of look at younger, like, Gen Z and younger millennial audiences now, where they're dropping, trillions of dollars on Fortnite and CSGO and Roblox. Sure. And, it's like, okay, maybe if I can't fly to Austria or Switzerland, whatever, to get the watch, maybe I want to get one anyway, smash it on my avatar, right?
Sure.
So I still get bragging rights. I can still get to show off. I can support my brand or whatever. But then again, when you take that a step further and you leverage all of these other systems, play to earn, build to earn, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You can kind of create ways for even if you can't afford the thing, you can still get there, or you can earn it, or you can go the digital way first, ultimately get to the physical, or vice versa. But AR and VR are both, they're very experiential technologies, but they're not necessarily treated like that by most of the industry. And I think when you start really thinking about the experience and the immersion and other things like identity and location. It just creates all kinds of really cool things. And I think, over the next 2, 3, or 4 years, you're just going to see more and more of it. And then we also have like the annual, some college somewhere talks about, oh, we're doing AR contact lenses. Yeah, you've got a pixel in the corner of my eye. Stop hitting me with these stupid articles that make us sound like you've got Superman vision today.
Yeah.
But that stuff is coming, and it may be a big, bulky Apple glasses, whatever thing now, which is really an VR headset. Let's just be real.
Right.
But when I can finally get to my Oakleys, where I can just pop it on, and I've got 180 field of view and full 3D things. We're getting there. The technology is probably maybe 50-60% ready for that, with the transparent lenses and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, give it a couple of years, and it's going to be nuts. But this is also the opportunity now for us to be building the foundation for these things. So when the other end of the hardware is ready to go, it's all on blockchain.
What is the missing? I mean, the glasses being 50 or 60% of the way there. Like that sounds encouraging, but it's also, I've seen a lot of technologies get to like 95% and be like, we just can't break through because of, some other random limitation that you couldn't have predicted. Is there, like, what do you think that breakout actually looks like where, like the iPhone, for example? I think a lot of people are like, I don't know, do we really need a computer in our pockets at all time? Like the answer is clearly yes, but that took some took some visionary couple of steps to bridge that gap. But I think about it as somebody like, in a car. Like I love the way that like Tesla, for example, you can do your full self-driving is like a new experience in the car, but it's like, while it's novel, I don't know that it's not revolutionary yet. It's also very close. It's one of those like 95% things where it's like, wow, this is really crazy. But then there's like the occasional, like, why did you just stop here? Like the car has lost itself, And like, what do you think that's going to look like? Do you think it'll be something consumer goods, or do you think it could be, I feel like most things are consumer good, or like porn or something is like the thing that just makes everything go like, oh, cool, like I'm in. But
I did mention the French maid avatar earlier.
Yes.
Porn has been playing around with VR and whatever. It's mostly just, here's a video, I'm gonna push it in your headset, right? Like they're nowhere near it yet. They may be a good early adopter when we start getting in more haptic outfits and other IoT devices. I'm trying to keep it clean. But outside of that, if you look at like PG-13, Tune in Tokyo. Like in the industrial space, VR and VR is doing a lot with like engineering grade digital twins for simulations and stuff. Like that's amazing. And then when you look at like AR, there's a lot of industrial stuff, especially for warehousing, repairs. I mean, there's been a lot of innovations going on, and one of my favorite use cases is some AR enabled like gas and oxygen masks for firefighters. There's I saw a project once where they're using all that with a combination of sensors on different wavelengths. So even if you're in a 100% smoke filled, zero visibility corridor that's on fire, you've got this AR overlay of the hallway, where the doors are, where the body is, where the hole in the floor is.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it's using ultraviolet and other things. Yeah. No, it's wicked tech. You're never going to see that in the consumer side because, we don't need it. But these things are happening. But on the consumer end, I think you need that thing that makes it a need, right? Like when the iPhone first came out, we didn't need all this stuff. Now we have to, because this is where I get my news, or transactions, where I hang out with people. This has just become like the focal point. But I think, there's still issues with power and with weight, and it's really field of view more than anything else. Right now, it's like looking through a postage stamp. But when we get past that, it's not going to take a whole lot, because if you stop thinking about the glasses as a way to see stuff, but as a different way to maybe access information and more stuff about the world around you, then it's like, okay, wow. So it's not just about me seeing fun, cute little avatars. It's about how I interact with the world. How do I, see information about the traffic I'm in? How do I access, my work office? how do I, you talk about like going to a grocery store and not having to go through a checkout line. Well, if it knows it's me and I can scan stuff and like, glasses and other devices can become these enabling things that allow other functionalities, capabilities. And you have to think about it that way beyond just the visual piece. It has to be about who you are and where you are, what's going on around you. So for example, I'm sure you've seen Minority Report with Tom Cruise, and at least half your audience has probably seen that.
Yeah.
There's one scene where he's going down this corridor and like all of the holographic advertisements are suddenly customized to him, like a car commercial, whatever.
Yep.
And, it was based on his eye and all that. And, when that movie first came out, I knew so many people in the industry that were like, oh my God, how do they do the holographics images and blah, blah, projectors and all this stuff? And for me, I was like, yeah, that was cool, bro. But how did it know it was Tom Cruise's character? That's what I want to know, right? Because that's that's a different ballgame. Because you can do holograms all day long, but if it knows it's you, that's a different story. So I think that, as these things all kind of come together and converge, there's going to be that one application that's just going to change everything. And then the tech becomes a must-have. You want to go to, it's like the Oasis in the book, not the movie sucked.
Yeah.
For Ready Player One, where, you had to go to the Oasis for work, for entertainment, for socializing. Sure, it became a need because it provided all of those things.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's fascinating. Like, and there's so much there. I remember, I think it was Second Life, which is now 20 years old or something like that. I remember the first guy who told me about Second Life, and he was a marketer. He was a professional marketer, and he's like, all right, I'm putting everything in here. He was buying billboards to advertise his business. He was like, I'm going to be the biggest marketing agency in Second Life. And so he was like 100% pursuing customers circa, 2006 or 7, and saying, that's it, man. I'm just going to focus on Second Life. I'm going to be like a marketing agency. Like, and he was from the print industry, which is where I knew him from. But he was 100% like, why would I do anything physical ever again? Like, I have my graphic designers, I have my people. We'll just do it there. Like, I'll start a billboard company. Like, Clear Channel, I think, owns most of the billboards around the country. And he's like, I'm just going to be the Clear Channel of Second Life. It's going to be great, And I don't it's. I think Second Life still exists. Actually, it never. We don't all live there. Like I think a lot of people predicted, but he's done pretty well for himself, focusing on being the marketing guy in various metaverses, and it still persists. It's like every time a new project comes out, I'm thinking back to it's probably 2017 or 18. There was Decentraland showed up on Ethereum, and they're kind of doing the same thing. Like, it's Second Life, but it's on the blockchain, so you actually own the property, and all your property's tokens and all your assets and all these other things. And so but it's still niche. Like, that's the thing that bugs me, is that it feels like, it actually bugs me about Bitcoin too, that, hey, it's been 15 years and it's still kind of the same group of nerds. And my grandma still isn't really using Bitcoin. She still writes a check at the grocery store and thinks I'm crazy, So I don't know. I want to see both metaverse and blockchain kind of move out of that niche. It feels like it's been a long time sitting on the runway. And I don't know, like maybe I'm just growing impatient as my hair keeps falling out. But what do you think, man?
I'm just as impatient as I'm just as impatient as you, and this is why I'm doing this, because it's not getting done. So I'm all in to make it happen. Yeah. But everything that you've seen with like Second Life and Decentraland, all that stuff in the past, those were just like previews. Those are trailers, right? The industry, it may take another 2, 3, 5 years, whatever. But we have right now we're showing old, like 80s rom-coms. But the industry still hasn't dropped its Oppenheimer on everybody yet. And it's coming. And everything that was great and awesome and making tons of money for people and creating economic opportunities and educational opportunities, it's like we barely even understand, the brown paper packaging of the bag of the book that I just bought. It's like we got like a big old War and Peace over here, and you just don't even know what's coming. So, for people that are like frustrated or stuck looking back like, oh, I tried Second Life and it sucked. Well, okay, it was early. You know, they had the right idea. They implemented a lot of things the wrong way, but for even with that, you know, Second Life created millionaires, and people like, you know, they don't really realize that. It's like, hang on to your seats. There's some amazing things that are coming. Still, that, you know, people just don't have any idea, and I think it's going to be nuts, and it's actually worth doing some research and going back and looking, you know, at, you know, whether it's things like Second Life or Worlds Away or Habitat, or, you know, go look up some old, you know, text-based multi-user dungeons. There's some amazing research, even as far back as, you know, the dawn of multiplayer gaming, when they didn't have graphics, in terms of, you know, telling stories and narrative and building worlds. And yeah, there's a lot there that younger guys today starting game companies or VR, AR companies, they reinvent a lot of wheels, or they just don't know. But yeah, no, some amazing things are coming. And, you know, there's always this risk it's going to get dystopian, right? But, you know, my contribution to avoiding that is going to be letting people drop 3D poop emojis on their oppressors. So,
yeah, no, it's wild stuff. We have a few questions here in the box. So, Mr. Vidal, if you want to start pulling up some of the starred questions here, we've got a little less than 20 minutes left here in the show, and let's bang them out. I can read them to you. I just realized you've got a very small screen, probably. So from Cool Cat Coding says, I've been saying for years that Elon's brain chip will be required for a Ready Player One type metaverse experience. What do you think? What's your now I forget what it's called, but the Elon brain chip is a good way to describe it.
Neuralink.
Neuralink. What do you think of that technology? Is that necessary? Is it an overreach? Is it dangerous?
Oh man, I'm kind of conflicted here, because, you know, I'm one of those guys that sign me up, right? Yeah. If you, so I'll start with the side story. So back in I'm dating myself here, maybe 1995 or 1996. I had a company here in Raleigh, and we were building the world's first real-time 3D MMORPG. Right? This is like when the Pentium first came out. To let you guys know what a monumental task I was trying to attempt, like an idiot. But I met a guy that was in our building. He was some kind of doctor or whatever, and he was working with electroencephalograms, EEGs, and like he had a whole little harness with all the little sensors on it. And there was an old game. It was like a Windows 3.1 or whatever, like a little skier that was going down a cliff, or like a snow, whatever. That's all it was. And he had a whole thing rigged up where you could sit in the chair, you put it on your head, huge pieces of machinery behind you, and you could like focus really hard to get your brainwaves just right to move the little skier guy left and right as he was skiing down the hill. It was just amazing. It was like magic to do, but it was like took a lot of focus. And then of course, you know, the Matrix comes out and people are like, oh yeah, that's it. But to do all of that, you not only do you need the brain chip, but you basically have to interrupt what's happening between the brain and your eyes and your brain and your spine. Because what you're trying to do is get your input output sort of thing, so I can feel that full body sensation and feel like I'm actually in these environments. So you basically have to trick your brain and, you know, stop talking to the rest of your body. So if you don't mind technically cutting your spine in half, where it's just your brain in this chip for your experience, then yeah, you're probably going to need it. But having said that, I think you can get to those. You can get really close, right? I mean, I could give you some mushrooms to stick you in a submersion chamber, turn out all the lights, and then put you in a head-mounted display and give you some like force feedback outfits. I guarantee you're gonna feel like you're in another universe. Yeah. So I think there's ways to get there, but it really boils down to how much immersion is enough. I think we're really close, right? If you're a gamer, how many games have you played where something has scared the crap out of you and you've leapt out of your seat or fallen backwards? Or if you've got on like some really good headsets. It's like the first time I played Quake, you know, I had on the headsets and all that. And the first game I ever heard a guy behind me, I almost wet my pants, right? It was like, oh my gosh, there's a dude behind me. I got to turn around and see what's there. It's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, you don't need the chips, but there will be things in the future where I think that we'll get to the point. But then it's like, okay, well, what's the downside to that? Can you imagine being convicted of a crime and being stuck in a VR environment for 10 years? It's like, okay, well, do I have magic spells, or, you know, am I just a slime rolling around that's going to suck? So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, no, it's wild. KP Dad asking, what current project is Omniscape building and its real world use case? Are there future projects you want to build or that you're dreaming big on? So what's the big dream? Who do you want to work with? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we're building the Oasis and the Matrix the right way. We've spent the last 10, 14 years figuring this out, how to do it, how to build it properly, how to architect it. It just takes a lot of time to actually build it, and certainly capital. So having said that, yeah, we are building the big thing. We know how to do it. We're going to get there. It's just not pie in the sky for us. But even then, we have to do things in stages because we're a small team, and but most of as they say, you can't handle the truth. You guys can't handle the metaverse I'm about to drop on you. So we have to do it bits and pieces at a time. So we're starting with a cute little Boximon. Those guys are already out. But we have some patents and some other IP, and I think our next focus is really on obviously publishing content and stuff, but really centered around linking physical to digital, the 3D objects to something of real world value, because that helps with monetization and transference of value in the metaverse. And without those things, everything else is just a game and goofy. But you have to have the ability for commerce and communication and content creation to really build something that has that long-term value. But these are all fundamental building blocks for what we're trying to build in the longer term view. So this summer and going into this fall, we're releasing a lot of these things. Cool. Again, Boximon are cute and awesome, and we're going to build a crazy brand. I can't wait till I get a celebrity wearing some Boximon shoes or little Boximon earrings or super, rapper Boximon shirt or something. That's just going to be like the highlight for me. We're building a real world Oasis.
Awesome. For the record, anything with like a Japanese aesthetic immediately tickles my fancy. So I'm like right there. I was like, ooh, Boximon, and I was like, oh, it's an Omniscape thing. Like, so I was super excited. Spent too much of my coins buying some Boximon.
The next series is about to come out, and we also have we're going to be turning on leveling, so you can level them up and some combinations. So. And then we've got there are occasions where some Boximon may irritate each other. They may start fighting randomly. And we have a whole lot of stuff coming out the next several weeks, and there's more later. So it's not a bad idea to buy more when you can.
Okay, cool. So we have a Boximon video too. So let's cue that up real quick. Let's bust through that, and then we'll have about 10 minutes left in the show.
I am Tetraxicon. I shall destroy all Boximon.
Very ominous, Robert.
I got a little bit of lag there.
Are you back? All right, let me know if you can hear me. Uh-oh. The damn 5G, man.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
We might have a little bit of delay if you're just catching me here. So we got another question from Erlich Bachman here, asking, will Omniverse be the unicorn of BSV? And I guess to add to that, go ahead.
I'd say only if you like NVIDIA. NVIDIA actually has something named Omniverse. We're Omniscape. It's an easy thing to miss up. My own team.
Bad, yeah.
Set up all the time. No, it's fine.
I didn't even notice. Yeah.
I'm kind of anal about these things.
Sure.
I'm hoping so because BSV needs a couple of unicorns, and it's like BSV is such a solid technology for a foundational perspective, right? It's just, it's good for us. But yeah, if all goes well, like I said earlier, I think the way we're angling the company and a lot of the biz dev and the strategic partnerships and relationships that we're doing now are putting us on track to break out in the mass market here very quickly. There's one really big thing we're planning for the fall that may draw so much attention over here. It's just going to be crazy. So, I'd say yes. I expect we'll be a unicorn for pizza.
Cool. Let's bring in another question or two here, Mr. Vidal. We got 5 more left. From Gay Toshi Fragamoto, that's one of my favorite viewers. What other types of wearable tech besides glasses do you envision?
Rings for sure. I think rings are overlooked a lot in terms of what you can do with them. You could probably do something with necklaces. It seems kind of I don't know, kind of cheesy. But if we really wanted to go and have fun, headbands. I want to see some AR, VR, high tech IoT headbands coming out. Right? Let's bring back in like some golden crowns or something and kind of start a trend.
I'm trying to think. What did I see recently? I think it was a new. I don't know. I think it was related to. I saw a preview for it, but it looked like it cast like a red light for. It was like your watch and maybe like a health monitor, so you could ask it for your heart rate or various things. Like, but it has a camera, and it's always just watching your fingers. So if you make a hand gesture, it will then broadcast, or it'll display like on your palm or something. Like whatever it is you're asking for, which struck me as weird. Like technology for technology's sake was kind of my initial vibe, but I was like, well, that's kind of interesting that they figured out how to do that anyways. So
I heard you say do that anyways. When your audio cut back in.
We're losing you. Basically, it seemed like it was the world's most unnecessary lapel pin technology. Was what I saw recently. It was a tech reviewer that I watched sort of periodically, and it was some kind of it would broadcast things onto the palm of your hand. When you would lift your hand up, it would show like the time or whatever else you asked it to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, you're talking about it's like a mini, like an OLED or Pico sort of projector where I can get an interface on my hand or on a wall or yeah. So I've seen a bunch of those for like keyboards and some other things, which is pretty cool tech. I've seen a couple that are really great for like when you're flying on the plane, you can just put things down and then your drop down table becomes your interface. So I think those are cool. But I don't see too much value in them. I did see one maybe 15 or 20 years ago. It might have come out of MIT or something where they were very proud of this. They had this big bulky thing that was on a chain around their neck. Imagine like a soda can, something about the size of a soda can hanging from your neck, and you could walk up to somebody and then it would recognize, oh, I'm talking to Kurt, and then it would project onto Kurt's chest from my little gigantic hip hop future necklace. Kurt owes you $50, right? or Kurt had a birthday yesterday. What an old guy, or just whatever, some kind of information. So I would see it, which is great for me, but you'd be like, why are you projecting this on my chest? I don't know, $20. And then it's like, okay, well, like, get that out of my eye, man. It's like you just lasered me. There's just so many issues with those types of projection things. I think it was kind of like, or the one was, you could work from anywhere. And their little concept video was a guy standing about 2 feet away from a wall, using the wall as a screen. But it's like, looks like the dude standing in the corner. It's like, this is the opposite of immersion and, using your environments for stuff. So I think it's cool tech. It's very easy to do. And it's kind of nifty if I can, see what time it is in my hand or something. And if you watched, what was the show that was on about a year or two? Peripheral. They had some really cool stuff there before they got canceled.
I didn't see it. Mort asking, so when holodeck?
It depends on what you want to define as a holodeck. So if you got your basic, give me a 3D room that I can walk into, you can just go to Vegas and go to the Dome, right? That's the holodeck at really large scale. If you want something that's very much like the Star Trek holodeck, let me introduce you to, oh God, what is it? It's ultrasonic something or other. I've actually seen this, and I've tried it out, and it was probably the most mind-blowing technology I've ever seen in my life. So imagine a flat black square piece of metal, like little ridges and bumps on it, right? And then like a monitor in front of it. So basically, these guys use ultrasonics generated by like this metal plate. Ultrasonics, just audio, it's super high audio. But when you reach your hand over it, you can feel different pressure pieces. So if they have like a 3D object on the screen that they're rotating around, you put your hand out and it feels like it's actually there, and you're like you've grabbed onto something. Like you've grabbed onto it, and you're like, oh my God, there's this resistance, and your brain is like, yeah, there's a real object here, and then your eyes are like, yeah, whatever, bro, there is nothing here. So it's really hard thing for your brain to think about. But I'm like, wow, if I had that through a whole floor and then on some walls and then on some ceilings and stuff, you can basically, triangulate where the focus is to get that resistance and kind of maybe get to a very rudimentary idea of what a holodeck would be.
Crazy. Oh, that's incredible. So, Robert, we've got a little less than 3 minutes. Is there anything you wish I would have asked you or anything you want to close with?
No, it's thanks for having me. This has been fun. I've heard most of what you said. It was a few times where my 5G was like, yeah, I'm going to give up the ghost. But no, this is great. But yeah, people, like, be encouraged. There's cool stuff coming out, from us and also from the rest of the industry. Certainly, hang out in our Discord and, buy Boximon. But yeah, keep the faith up, because, for a lot of the goofy stuff that's out there, there's more behind the scenes by a lot of very smart people that are very motivated. And the future is bright. So
yeah, beautiful.
If I had shades, I'd put them on right now and mic drop, but I don't.
There you are. Bam. Will I see you in London in about 3 weeks here?
Not at the moment, but that's subject to change.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully I will see you in London, because like I said, I feel like I haven't seen you in a couple of years at this point, and I would love to have a drink with you or something.
100%. Lots to talk about.
All right, man. Well, talk soon. Thanks for coming. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye. All right. So, breaking news I'm seeing. Roger Ver has been arrested in Spain, it looks like. And it looks like it happened over the weekend. So, a lot of people, Roger's a very divisive figure. So there's a lot of people saying, good. You know what? Actually, I was speaking to Roger Ver at the beginning of this episode because I reviewed his book and I really liked it. So, Roger, if you do indeed see this, I'm sending you well wishes and thoughts and prayers. And frankly, being arrested is never good for anybody. I know for a fact you're not a violent criminal, and I think it's really sad to hear that Roger was arrested for alleged tax evasion. It looks like $50 million in unpaid taxes related to corporations, because Roger is not an American citizen and hasn't been for many years, like a decade or more, if I recall. But I'm guessing it's got something to do with, I know he owned or owns an American corporation, his memory dealers business and stuff. So a hunch says that's what's going on. So really sorry to hear that, Roger. I hope you're well. So no fun. Any other questions? I think we had a couple of questions that would be appropriate for me to solo before we wrap up for the day. So Mr. Vidal, we got Mo Miller, written judgment coming soon on COPA. According to Tufty the cat, our laser eye friend, who apparently gets a little bit of FaceTime with Judge Miller on the occasion, says coming soon, and the laser people are very excited about it. So I'm not bullish for Craig's sake on the written judgment coming. In fact, we've already seen the preview. Judge Miller is not likely to be kind here. So also sending well wishes to Craig, as I'm sure he's got to be feeling a little bit of stress with the news coming. So What a way to end the show, huh? Bloodbath in the market. I haven't even looked at what the market's crashing to. So cool. Let's remember to go to church on Sundays, everybody. I think Bitcoin Terranode is a great name if the court forces a name change. There we go. Yeah, we'll take it. So looks like I got to put my tinfoil hat on and bust out the old AR-15. Make sure the house is properly secured if the sky's falling. Yeah, they didn't like his book. Yeah, no. I almost made this a little more than PG-13 here. So keep it up. Omniscape looks awesome. Good feedback from everybody. So, man, seems like a really good time to remind everybody to be good to each other, huh? A lot of this kind of stuff. Yeah, merging digitality and physicality. While digitality, I think, is my least favorite word in the English language. The read there is pretty damn good. Bit and coined by Gao, not Mao. Mao's a little bit of a different situation. So, no, everybody really, truly, it's important to be good to each other. Like both as a principle and as a behavior, and then something that you can even sort of fake it till you make it. I get a lot of critics who say, you know what? I know for a fact Kurt's not a nice guy. I can see it. I can see that he's just looking for that opportunity to, explode. So they try to goad me. They try to see if they can make me upset because they think my be nice to each other thing is like a shtick or a charade. And it's funny because on the one hand, that's a little insulting, but on the other hand, it's true in the extent that like we all have the capacity to be good or bad people. And it's ultimately about the little decisions that we make. And then if we can pretend to be good or swallow our pride and try really hard to be good, even when it would feel very good to be bad, all of a sudden those sort of things become habits. And so I do my very best to habitually take my anger or take my people who stress me out or the people that like to remind me that, well, you're just angry because you're fat and bald. And the fact of the matter is that every once in a while, I do wish I had more attractive hair. But when I take that information and say, you know what, they're projecting on me because they want to make me angry because I think they're a little bit angry inside. And if I can come back with love and say, you know what, thank you for reminding me that I am bald. I'm not blind though. I know what this looks like. So, I would hope that my influence, that my reaction to those things would make other people feel encouraged to also be good. So sometimes being good to each other is a little bit more about just saying, you know what, maybe I want to fight. Maybe I could fight. Maybe I'd fight and win, but would it be worth it? Would we all be better at the end of that? And I think the answer is almost always no. Obviously, I will defend myself in physical conflict, but ultimately, I want to make my enemies friends. I would love for the people who hate me today to, in a year or 2 or 3, to be able to come and say, Kurt, you know what? I might disagree with you about all kinds of things, but I can respect you for your kindness. And I would like us to bury the hatchet. And I've actually had a number of key instances where this has happened. I have friends who are small blockers who started as trolls and who I have developed a healthy relationship with. Believe it or not, I'm not going to dox them because they'll get in trouble for, sharing friendship with the likes of me. So anyways, it's getting a little long in the tooth, but to everybody watching, really, I thank you. I love doing this show, and it's really only because you consume it that I can do this every week. So remind your friends to like, subscribe, hit the alert bell, all the rest of that jazz. Go out there and be good to each other, because actually, while it's good for the people that receive the goodness, it's also good for you. It teaches you lessons about yourself, and it reforms your heart and mind and soul and spirit to just kind of habitually be a better person altogether. So this is not a sermon, but I am a bald white guy, so I could see why you'd be confused. So everybody, thanks again. I'll see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.